Welcome to the debate. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that touches our grocery aisles and global economies: the explosive growth of the tropical fruit market. What was once exotic is now, well, pretty much everywhere, from traditional favorites like mangoes, pineapples, and avocados, to exciting superfruits such as dragon fruit, acai, and camu camu. This incredible global expansion raises a really important question for us today. Is this commercialization primarily a force for sustainable development and innovation? Or does it perhaps unexpectedly create significant environmental and social challenges for the farmers and regions involved? I'll be arguing that increasing international demand and technological advancement are absolutely crucial for the industry's sustainable growth and economic benefits.
And I'll be presenting the counter-argument, suggesting that while the market's growth seems beneficial on the surface, this rapid expansion often overlooks critical environmental vulnerabilities and, social complexities, leading to significant and often disproportionate challenges for these producing regions and particularly their smallholder farmers.
Okay, so to begin, it's pretty clear the global tropical fruit market is a dynamic sector, experiencing robust growth. And this isn't just about fresh fruit anymore. It's being driven by how much consumers want healthy and exotic options, including a huge demand for what we call value-added juices. We're talking about products enhanced with superfruits, maybe blended with cereal or proteins for meal replacement, or those sought-after clean-label products with reduced sugar content. Gaurav Dutt from Tetra Pak, they're a major player in food processing and packaging. He predicts, for instance, a healthy 1% to 2% global growth, with strong expansion in markets across Asia and Southeast Asia. He even foresees a return to growth in Europe and the Americas, primarily spurred by these innovative product launches. Now, this burgeoning demand really fuels innovation across the entire value chain. We're seeing some remarkable technological advancements in cultivation, like the strategic use of off-season LED lighting and precision agriculture tools such as remote sensing yield maps, particularly evident in, say, sophisticated dragon fruit production. These technologies significantly improve productivity and, crucially, drive down unit costs for export-grade fruit. Beyond cultivation, advancements in transportation and sophisticated logistics, including controlled atmosphere or CA technologies, have revolutionized the industry. They've extended the shelf life of highly perishable tropical fruits, reduced delivery times and shipping costs, making these delicious fruits available and, importantly, affordable year-round globally.
Economically, the market creates substantial opportunities.
Tropical fruits often boast a high average export unit value, frequently exceeding $1,000 per ton. Premiumization, like the higher prices commanded by yellow and purple dragon fruit varieties, directly boosts grower margins. Moreover, initiatives like the Sustainable Juice Initiative, where 13 major producers have committed to 100% sustainably sourced juice by 2030, demonstrate a clear industry-wide push towards responsible practices, often incentivized by market demand for ethical sourcing. So there's real momentum there.
Those economic opportunities are certainly compelling, and I understand that perspective. However, I come at this from a rather different angle. While there are undoubtedly economic upsides in these technological shifts, I argue that the rapid, expansive growth of the global tropical fruit market poses profound environmental and social challenges, especially for developing countries and the smallholder farmers who are often right at the very beginning of that value chain.
Okay.
Just imagine a smallholder farmer in Central America who has meticulously tended their avocado trees for years, only to see their entire harvest wither in an unprecedented drought, or swept away by an unexpected hurricane. For these communities, climate change isn't some future threat. It's a devastating present reality, actively disrupting harvests. Erratic weather events aren't hypothetical. They are severely impacting crops like mango, pineapple, avocado, and papaya through hurricanes in Florida and the Caribbean, or droughts across Central and South America and India. These aren't minor setbacks. They're catastrophic for livelihoods. Pineapple, for example, bears only one fruit per year, and avocado plantings can take 4 years just to start fruiting, making them incredibly susceptible to these sudden climate shocks. Furthermore, the sheer water intensity of juice production is frankly alarming. It takes approximately 50 liters of water to grow a single orange. and a staggering 200 liters to produce just one glass of orange juice. This highlights a massive, often unsustainable resource strain that often goes unaddressed at scale. The pressure for large-scale commercialization often translates directly into environmental degradation. We've seen instances of widespread deforestation for new, frequently monoculture crops, like soybeans, which have directly contributed to the decline of vital, naturally occurring resources such as Brazil nut production in the Amazon. And smallholder farmers, who constitute the backbone of much of this production, grapple intensely with the considerable costs of compliance for international certifications like organic standards, which can be prohibitive for many. They also face severe market instability stemming from oversupply cycles and increasingly stringent pesticide residue enforcement. These strict regulations, while necessary for consumer safety, can lead to shipment rejections and crippling financial losses for those least able to absorb them. And while the waste-to-value concept for tropical fruits sounds promising for local employment and resource preservation, ensuring these environmental and social benefits actually materialize within complex international supply chains remains a significant, often unmet challenge for the regions where the fruits are actually grown.
I appreciate you highlighting the very real vulnerabilities faced by farmers, and yes, climate change is indeed a critical factor. However, I believe the industry is not just reacting, it's proactively evolving in some quite sophisticated ways. While I understand concerns about the sugar issue impacting juice consumption in the past, the industry is actively responding to those negative consumer perceptions by innovating with these value-added juices. We're seeing impressive reduced sugar options and ingenious blends with vegetable juices, for example. This isn't just about health trends either. Consumer demand for sustainability and traceability is a powerful market force, compelling manufacturers to invest significantly in new processing techniques, drastically reduce energy and water use in production, and consider truly sustainable packaging solutions. John Collins of the International Fruit and Vegetable Juice Association explicitly notes that large growers are becoming increasingly conscious of their water footprint, actively utilizing natural water sources and smart irrigation technology. This demonstrates a systemic shift, I think, driven by consumer and market pressures towards more responsible practices.
While I appreciate the emphasis on proactive measures, I'm not entirely convinced that the industry's response to the sugar issue was truly proactive. I mean, a 10-year decline in juice consumption in the US and Europe suggests these innovations are largely reactive to an already well-established market downturn. More fundamentally, the industry's significant vulnerability to climate change persists regardless of these product innovations. You mentioned Gaurav Dutt earlier, and even he pointed out the acute impact on farmers globally, saying they're unhappy because it's raining when it's not supposed to rain, and it's a drought when it is supposed to rain. These are existential threats that market innovations alone simply can't solve without deeper systemic shifts in how we approach agriculture globally. And the sheer water footprint of juice production, requiring, as I said, 200 liters for just one glass of orange juice, remains a persistent resource strain that, well, marketing changes simply won't address on their own. It's a physical reality.
You raise crucial points about climate vulnerability and the scale of water usage. And look, those challenges are undeniable. However, I believe your perspective perhaps overlooks how technological and logistical advancements create a more stable environment for producers, which then inherently incentivizes and supports greater sustainability. Take advances in logistics, for instance. Dole's introduction of a weekly cold chain vessel for dragon fruit to the U.S. Northeast significantly reduces shrinkage and stabilizes pricing, ensuring consistent shelf placement in stores. Now, this retail certainty directly encourages growers to invest in higher yield cultivars and more efficient post-harvest systems, ultimately increasing overall efficiency and reducing waste. The development of clean label products and the robust promotion of superfruits are not mere reactions. They are direct, sophisticated responses to evolving health-conscious consumer trends, driving product innovation that inherently aligns with and indeed helps define new sustainability goals in terms of product origin, processing, and environmental impact. This is the market responding to complex problems with sophisticated solutions.
Those technological leaps are undeniable, yes, and I agree they are pushing the industry forward in some ways. However, I question whether they truly address the systemic vulnerabilities that persist, and frankly, I see how these advancements often place additional, unintended burdens on producers. Despite these technological strides, the industry still faces significant supply disruptions from adverse weather events. Consider Costa Rica's pineapple production, for example, which saw a decline due to a prolonged rainy season followed by drought. This didn't just affect yield, it critically impacted sweetness levels, rendering much of the crop unfit for export. And while off-season LED lighting boosts dragon fruit yields you mentioned, that growers are now facing tightening light pollution rules, especially near urban zones.
These rules lead to increasing compliance costs, signaling that technological fixes can simply create new environmental burdens and regulatory hurdles for farmers. Furthermore, stringent pesticide residue enforcement thresholds, such as the FDA Import Alert 9905, which is a common regulatory action often triggered by concerns about contaminants and product safety, impose significant retesting costs, sometimes 15 to 20% of production expenditure. These costs disproportionately affect smaller, less technologically advanced farms, often pushing them out of the market entirely. So the tech doesn't always help everyone equally.
I fully agree that regulatory compliance and climate variability are substantial challenges, particularly for smallholder farmers. However, I believe this focus sometimes overshadows the profound economic uplift that global market opportunities for tropical fruits can directly provide to local economies and smallholder farmers in very tangible ways. Consider Amazon's model for acai in the Amazon. They offer a 25% premium and guaranteed contracts to, I think it's 750 families organized into cooperatives. This model doesn't just improve livelihoods, it directly incentivizes forest conservation, ensuring that communities have a vested interest in preserving their habitat because their income is tied to its health. That's a powerful link. Another excellent example is camu camu, a fruit exceptionally rich in vitamin C, which has become a star export product for Peru, with strong international demand, especially from Japan, accounting for, 91% of its exports. This encourages local processing and the creation of value-added products, often with crucial support from the EU and other international cooperants through programs like the Integral Program for Sustainable Use of Camu Camu. These are clear demonstrations of sustainable economic development fueled by global demand, directly benefiting local communities and empowering them to be stewards of their environment.
I can certainly see the appeal, and success stories like Sambazan are truly inspiring in how they uplift communities. But we have to consider if these individual cases truly reflect the broader, often more challenging reality. Sambazan, for example, represents only about, 2% of the Amazon's total acai crop? It makes it more of an exception than the rule, unfortunately. The broader picture reveals significant challenges that often overshadow these isolated successes. We've seen the severe decline in Brazil nut production, impacted by illegal trade, widespread deforestation driven, yes, by soybean cultivation, and critical quality issues like aflatoxin contamination that led to an EU import suspension. This directly affected an estimated 1 million people in the Amazonia region, disrupting traditional livelihoods on a massive scale. For Camu Camu, despite its immense potential, many non-governmental organization projects aimed at its cultivation have suffered from poor execution and a lack of proper field maintenance, which limits actual fruit production and unfortunately increases reliance on unsustainable wild harvesting. This, in turn, depletes resources crucial for local fish species that feed on the fruit, creating these cascading ecological imbalances and, undermining the very communities we aim to help. It's complex.
That's a powerful counterpoint about the broader context, and the decline in Brazil nut production is indeed concerning. Yet I would argue that the growing global demand, especially in emerging economies, actually provides a more robust and diversified market that helps buffer against some of the very risks you've highlighted. The promotion of superfruits like avocado and mango, combined with increasing health consciousness and rising incomes in markets like India and China, creates robust, expanding demand. This isn't just about novelty, it's about a broader consumer base valuing health and quality over the long term. This expanding consumer base particularly for novelty products branded as premium items, offers significant opportunities for diversified export flows. This diversification benefits producers by reducing reliance on single markets or crops, making them more resilient to localized issues or specific market fluctuations. It's a kind of risk-spreading mechanism that global trade uniquely offers.
I'm just not convinced that the emphasis on novelty price premiums in emerging economies like China for avocado or for rare colors in dragon fruit creates stability. In fact, I'd argue it often generates significant market volatility, not stability. These premiums are often fleeting, driven by trends rather than fundamental, long-term demand. We've seen stark examples such as the 50.4% fall in Chinese dragon fruit imports in the first half of 2023, which severely depressed Vietnamese prices and forced growers to literally uproot productive vines. This is devastating because the long-term nature of fruit cultivation. Dragon fruit vines, for example, can remain productive for 30 years, locks producers into incredibly long risk horizons. This exacerbates the impact of these oversupply cycles and directly undermines any incentive or investment in genuinely sustainable practices, as farmers are constantly battling unpredictable market forces and trying to recoup sunk costs rather than focusing on long-term environmental stewardship or equitable community development. It's a cycle that often leaves the most vulnerable in a really precarious position.
What truly emerges from this discussion, I think, is that the tropical fruit market isn't just about commodity prices. It's a powerful feedback loop. Consumer demand for health and ethics, coupled with relentless innovation in cultivation, logistics, and product development, consistently pushes the industry towards a more sustainable and globally interconnected future. The core insight here is that conscientious consumption, amplified by technological advancement, is proving to be a catalyst for global good, creating broad economic development and promoting more efficient, responsible practices for both producers and consumers worldwide.
Well, our analysis reveals that while the global market offers dazzling potential, the reality on the ground for tropical fruit production is a precarious balancing act. The enduring insight here, I believe, is that without a fundamental shift towards truly localized, equitable, and systemic solutions, the pursuit of global market growth will likely continue to disproportionately burden the very communities and ecosystems we rely on. Climate change, water stress, stringent regulations, and market volatility present formidable hurdles, demanding more holistic solutions that extend far beyond simply chasing global market growth.
Indeed. And I think both perspectives underscore that the future of tropical fruits hinges on a delicate balance between powerful market forces, diligent environmental stewardship, and a fundamental commitment to social equity. There's clearly much more to explore within this dynamic and vital sector.